part. We'll just go over the last part. So I welcome everyone, and I think let's just go over this page number 27, the last few passages that we did, the lines that we did. So one by one, if you can just go over them, starting from he heard the inspired sound of his own thought.
I'll go.
Yeah.
He heard the inspired sound of his own thoughts, re echoed in the vault of other minds. The world's thought streams travelled into his ken. His inner self grew near to others' selves and bore a kinship's weight, a common tie, yet stood untouched, king of itself alone.
A magical accord quickened and attuned to ethereal symphonies the old earthy strings. It raised the servitors of mind and life to be happy partners in the soul's response. Tissue and nerve were turned to sensitive chords, records of luster and ecstasy. It made the body's means the spirit's acolytes.
A heavenlier function with a finer mode, lit with its grace men's outward earthliness, the soul's experience of its deeper sheaths, no more slept, drugged by matter's dominance. In the dead wall closing us from the wider self into a secrecy of apparent sleep, the mystic track beyond our waking thoughts, a door parted, built in by matter's force, releasing things unseized by earthly sense.
A world unseen, unknown by outward mind, appeared in the silent spaces of the soul. He sat in secret chambers looking out into the luminous countries of the unborn, where all things dreamed by the mind are seen and true, and all that the life longs for is drawn close.
Yes. So this was what we where we stopped last. We read that Ashwapati's kind of, the lid of the mind, the finite mind, it kind of tore apart. It led him into a wider view of consciousness, of things, of matter. A door parted, built in by matter's force. So the door, the limited sense of being that comes on us as a veil of ignorance when one takes birth as a human being, that door parted, which was built by matter's force, which was owing to this physical consciousness. So the physical consciousness was not able to have its limiting effect on Ashupati anymore, releasing things unseized by earthly sense. And it led him into being aware of all those things in usually where in our sense perceptions or in our understanding we are not able to be aware of or realize. And he got aware of a world unseen, unknown by outward mind. So usually have the mind and then we have the objects of sense perceptions. This is how we relate with the world and ourselves. Now this was something new that was happening. A world unseen, unknown by outward mind. It was not the realm of the mind. It was not the domain of the finite mind. It was something beyond the mind. Appeared in the silent spaces of the soul. He sat in secret chambers looking out. So, as if he took position within, and he kind of stationed himself within his being in this silent secret chamber. And now, stationed within the being, he is now looking uh, towards whatever is being shown to him into the luminous countries of the unborn, where all things dreamed by the mind are seen and true. So, as we were discussing last time, that mother used to say that whatever your kids or little children are thinking, dreaming, never tell them that it is impossible. Because if it has been dreamt, definitely it is possible. It may be just a matter of time when it becomes possible. And later on, in after few lines, we would also come through a few lines where it shares that Ashwapati was able to be aware of those words where even those things are manifested which are beyond our imaginations. So now the line is that all the things that are dreamed by the mind are seen and true. This is one world. There's another world. World after world is opening to Ashwapati. Again, Sri Aurobindo himself. These are all his own experiences. And where everything beyond the conception of the mind is manifested. Those are the worlds that are parallelly existing with the world that we know of. And all that the life longs for is drawn close. So, what is all that the life longs for? Eternal joy, eternal peace, eternal immortality, happiness, delight, progress of the being, evolution, constant progression, all that the life longs for, union, oneness, this feeling of being one with the whole creation, all that was drawn close when he looked at those words from his hidden chambers. And now, in the lines further, it is revealed what all kind of we get a glimpse of what all he became aware of. And later all also, in I think in book 2, we will also know step by step how he visits these worlds which are revealed to him. This is just a glimpse that is shown to us here. Yeah.
He saw the perfect in their starry homes, wearing the glory of a deathless form. Lain in the arms of the eternal peace, wrapped in the heartbeats of God-ecstasy.
Yeah. So this is what he saw in the higher realms or the other realms. He saw perfect beings, the perfect, you know. We see that human beings, as human beings, we are full of imperfections, right? So our journey is from imperfections to now constant refinement, progression, and all that. What he saw, the world that he saw here, is the higher levels of perfect beings whose homes are full of light. There is no space for darkness. He saw the perfect in their starry homes, full of light, wearing the glory of a deathless form. Even the matter that, for example, the body that we have, it is a mortal body, it's a mortal form, mortal matter. Now, the body that he saw in these perfect beings, it's an immortal body, wearing the glory of a deathless form. And as we go and read Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they have revealed to us that that would become a possibility even for earth, and that's what we call superhuman. But we cannot relate it now with the human level because it will be something beyond our perception. Abhi hum soch sakte hain, we can think that some changes will come in this body and then one will be superhuman, but it's not like that. It's a complete change, a complete transformation. The body would not be the same, the matter would not be the same, and that's why it's 100 years uh, of a journey for us on earth, wearing the glory of a deathless form, immortal body, lain in the arms of eternal peace. We as humans, we crave for this eternal peace. We feel so separated most of the time in our lifetimes, as limited as a separate ego, that we crave for this union with the God. That's what our mystic saints and bhakti movement and all that, it's like a craving, a yearning for that eternal touch. But this, what he saw, They were all, the perfect beings were all in the arms of eternal peace. They were held in that eternal peace. They were nursing themselves in that eternal peace. Rapt, in rapture, in ecstasy, in trance, almost a state of trance. Wrapped in the heartbeats of God-ecstasy. Usually happiness, when we talk of happiness owing to objects and persons and situations, it is all dependent on something else, right? If this happens, I will be happy. If this happens, I'll be sad and all that. But this living of perfect beings was forever in a bliss of perfect union with the God. So a reasonless bliss, bliss, as we call, Satchidananda, that is our true nature. We are coming out, we are manifested out from Satchidananda. And that's why bliss, joy, truth, they are all our true nature. And that's why there is yearning in our being for that. When we live more in an ego, the ego wants way back home. It's not happy being a separate self. And it just like it's the nature of the sun to illumine, it's the nature of the sun to be light. Just like that, it's our true nature to be bliss. Our true nature is bliss. And that's why we love those instances in life where wherever we have felt these deep touches of bliss or peace and stillness, because that is what we are truly, unless it becomes veiled again by ignorance. Yeah, so these beings in their perfect starry homes, they were held in this permanent ecstasy, state of ecstasy. So that is one possibility of a world that he saw existing. This world is existing parallelly. He saw this world. Yes.
He lived in the mystic space where thought is born and will is nursed by an ethereal power and fed on the white milk of the eternal strength till it grows into the likeness of a god.
Yeah. So this beautiful realm that he got aware of, the world that he got aware of, he lived in the mystic space where thought is born. What comes before the thought? And this is, if we go to the Vedantic tradition of self-inquiry, who am I? The moment one asks, who am I? Who is the one who is asking the question? One is absorbed into that origin of the thought, the source from which the thought rises at the very first place. That is who we truly are. So there where the thought is born, in that pure light of consciousness, pure awareness, pure self-aware beingness, he lived in the mystic space where thought is born. That untouched, pure, shining awareness, the pure, shining being from which everything gets manifested. The thought is born from there. And will is nursed by an ethereal power. And subtle powers, the higher powers from this dimension, they as if they nurse the will. First a thought is formed, and then when it kind of matures, it becomes a will, one which has force and power and energy to manifest out things in action. That will is nursed in these spaces, mystic space that is referred to in these lines. That is how it gets the power, the divine strength, that will, and fed on the white milk of the eternal's strengths. Any idea, for that matter, even in our physical consciousness, any idea that comes for the very first time in our head, how does one get the power to manifest it into reality? it comes actually from those mystic spaces within our being. And when we read the life of just geniuses like, Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, all these people who have, given us really whatever we could not even think of. Albert Einstein says that 99 times I think, then I fall silent, and then I get the answer that I'm looking for. So the answer comes always, the true answer, the true original answer would always come from those untouched mystic spaces within the being, where the thought is born and the will is nursed, till it grows into the likeness of a God. That which is beautiful, that which has qualities which one can look forward to or get inspired by. So the thought develops into a will. Will is nursed in these spaces, in this spaces of pure divine, immaculate divine strength, till it grows into the likeness of a God, until it really matures itself by nursing in that mystic space, and then now it is ready for manifestation. He
Monica,
was, yes, yes.
what is this white milk here is been referred to? Like it says, and fed on the white milk of the eternal strengths.
Yeah, yeah. So there could be several obviously meanings, क्योंकि these lines are so deep that I don't think we would be ever be able to touch the exact vision where it is coming from. But what I researched and understood was that this white milk refers to the nurturing quality, nourishing. You say, for example, a baby is breastfed, right, by the milk of the mother. So just like that, this will, who is a baby right now, is fed on the pure. White refers to pure also, but white also refers to inclusive. For example, if you pass the white light through a prism, it has all the qualities. So it's like full of various qualities. So all that could be meant by when you say white milk. And milk is referring to the nursing aspect, that it is kind of imbibing all those qualities from the eternals, from the divine strength. So that is what I understood so far, but I'm sure there would be more. Yeah. Yes.
It is thought, from thought it is will. Will is strengthened by the white milk.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, it is very beautiful, no? Very
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this thing that where it says likeness of a god, you know uh, only then it gets a divine certitude, the certitude that we see in mother's prayers and meditation, that certitude that yes, it will happen. It is just a matter of time that uh, it may take, owing to the flow of events in physical realm. But that certitude that yes, once the will is there, the manifestation will happen in time. Usually when we as human beings think of mostly our activities, we have so much of doubts with our activities. And that is also because most of our uh, acts or behaviors or what we want to do, we are not ourselves fully convinced. There is streak of doubt because it is not coming from the right space. But when the thought is coming from those immaculate spaces and stillnesses within the being, when one is stationed in that pure a stillness, and once a thought, kind of a wave of thought rises, then one is not in confusion whether this must be a right action, whether this must not be a right action. There is a high certitude that yes, this is true and this must happen. Usually we are stationed in the surface consciousness, and that is why all our desires are manifesting themselves out in our actions and behaviors mostly. But when my action becomes selfless, it becomes almost motiveless. I don't have any hidden motive in that agenda or the action. Then it is powered by the divine strength. And that's why it has the certitude that if the divine has meant this, it must happen, it will happen. And that's what I'm just kind of elaborating on the last line that we read, till it grows into the likeness of a god, that certitude of a god. Yeah. Yes.
In the witness occult rooms with mind built walls, on hidden interiors, lurking passages, opened the window of the inner sight. He owned the house of undivided time.
Yes. These are also very beautiful lines and very relevant for each one of us. In the witnesses occult rooms with mind built walls. We talk in our sessions about being just being aware, just being in touch with that witnessing, ever present witnessing aspect within our being. So I don't have to become a witness. It's not a becoming, it's just being in touch with that space within my being where the witnessing is ever present, an ever present Sakshi is always there. That is who uh, our true being is, the ever present self aware being. In the witnesses' occult rooms with mind built walls. But that witnessing ever present presence is as if walled with the limited mind. As if we are wearing these goggles throughout a lifetime and we are not able to see anything apart from uh, the color of that goggles that I am wearing. So if I am wearing a yellow colored goggle, this is the structure of my finite mind. Forever in a whole lifetime, I would be just limited to this perception, yellow perception of my mind, which blocks me from getting in touch with that witnessing aspect within me. Now, it does not mean that the witnessing is absent when I am not aware of it. Witnessing is all there is to our being and our experiences. When we talk about our challenges, our life experiences, we see that there is, I cannot have an experience if the ever present witness is not in that experience. The very fact that I am going through an experience and I'm aware of that experience tells me that I have an experience, right? So, whatever challenges, whatever ups and downs, whatever day to day, even little activities that we indulge in, the witnessing is ever present. There is nothing but witnessing, intermingled with all the ups and downs and highs and lows and the dramas and melodramas. But it is so obvious, this witnessing, that we miss it. It is so obvious that we miss it. My eyes cannot see. Who is making them see? A dead body's eyes will not be able to see. What makes my eyes see? Who is seeing through my eyes? So witnessing is ever going on. Even when I'm closing my eyes, who is aware within me? What's this absent presence within me? A presence which is ever present. That presence is the witness aspect that is talked here of, and which is very relevant for our path also. Because when we find ourselves entangled in the emotions and the dramas of my own life, the moment I have the capacity to step back, if I can use that word, it's not even a stepping back, to pause and be aware of the witnessing aspect and know that I am the witnessing aspect. I am this. The external situation cannot have the grip over me. And my action or my speech or my word or my behavior will now arise from that pure witnessing and not from the surface ups and downs. So that is the power of this, knowing who we truly are. And how do I know that this is my true being? Because there I find rest. And rest is what I seek. And in the surface consciousness, when I'm kind of thrown here and there by the waves, I'm seeking for rest. I'm not finding it. So it just tells me that I have again identified myself strongly as the person in the drama, while I'm not the person in the drama. And we are back again in our peace within the being. So what blocks this witness then? Why are we not available to this witnessing throughout our lives? The mind, the finite mind. And when we say mind, it involves all the sense perceptions which make me me. This is my body, this is my mind, this is my feeling, this is my story of the life. This is my thought, this is my belief. All this is originating from the mind, and this is what keeps us away. If I can use, keeps us away, we can never be away. But for the one in the story, one in the drama, he is away. So for that person in the drama who is lost in the drama, he feels that he has lost his home. And the home is this, coming back to the witnessing arena. In the witnesses' occult rooms with mind built walls, on hidden interiors, lurking passages opened the windows of the inner sight. Now, as if this walled structure in which the witness, if one can say, sits, as if it got now uh, a few openings, opened the windows of hidden inner sight, as if now it was not enclosed anymore. That space was now available to Ashupati, and he could look at the hidden interiors and the lurking passages, the exchanges that happen between the witnessing aspect and the surface consciousness or the nature. So he was available now to this witnessing aspect owing to the wall of the mind being shed. On hidden interiors, lurking passages opened the windows of the inner sight. And now he got a glimpse into this inner sight. What do we mean by this inner sight? What do we mean when we say, when mother says, be more in your inner being? What does that mean? He owned the house of undivided time. When we live in the mind, we are always either in past, either in future, or in the present, right? So the mind has the capacity, or not even the capacity, the mind divides. The nature of the mind is divisive in nature. It divides, you and me, your family, my family, my past, your past, your happiness, my happiness. So the mind, the nature of the mind is divisive in nature. And that's why ego is so divisive in nature. It separates, I am you are higher, I am lower, or I am lower, you are higher. This is all the nature of the ego coming from the mind. But now, owing to the windows that now opened into this pure witnessing aspect, he got in touch with this eternal timelessness, where everything is happening in this eternal now. Even the past, present, future, so called, they're all can be seen right now happening in this now, very now, where we talk right now. And in Sri Aurobindo's experience, it is also shared that it is called Trikala Drashti, that he got, some, that at one point of time he became aware of past, present, future happening simultaneously, as if a stream of river, and he can see the up and the down at once. But owing to the fact that we live in the limits of the mind, for us it is like, everything is happening as if in a succession, that has happened, this now will happen, and that will happen in future. That is the level of the mind. But he now, where he was, he owned the house of undivided time, eternity, almost a state of timelessness, where all is just here and now. Access anything that you want to. Yeah.
Lifting the heavy curtain of the flesh, he stood upon a threshold serpent-watched, and peered into gleaming, endless corridors, silent and listening in the silent heart for the coming of the new and the unknown.
Yes. So, we were reading earlier a few lines where it was said that the soul was now not drugged by matter's dominance. And this drug or this ignorance of the matter's dominance, when this was taken off of Ashwapati, lifting the heavy curtain of the flesh, this is such a beautiful imagery that as if the whole physical consciousness is such a thick veil on our true being, that it takes lifetimes to realize who we truly are, owing to the dominance of the matter. Most of the life or lifetimes we are just absorbed in thinking that I am this body, I am this being that is housing the body, just the body and the mind and the feelings. And slowly, if the grace permits, if the evolution permits, one grows and one realizes that yes, I may have a body, but I'm not this body. There is something more to me than the body. So slowly, as if the layers of ignorance are shed one by one. So lifting the heavy curtain of the flesh, he stood upon a threshold, serpent watched. In Chitraji would know much better. This temples, especially in South India also, and in Indian temples generally, we have this. The threshold of the temples are guarded. We have many a time these statues of dwarpals sitting at the threshold of the temples, and even the threshold of houses are considered very sacred, as if some unknown beings are guarding those areas, which is the threshold. Uh, so he stood upon a threshold, serpent watched. So, as if this mystic serpent, this is a something coming from, I think, some imagery used in mythology also, that as if serpents are guarding those corridors where a new realm begins, a new world begins, and he would not let you in if you are, if you are capable, uh, not capable yet. So he would only let you in that threshold if you have been kind of cleared that yes, you can now enter that threshold. So there are these guardians or dwarpals on these threshold of world after world after world, and he would not let you in until the fulfilled condition is demanded or given, which is the leaving behind of all the human elements of desires and the ego. This is the fulfilling condition. If you have fulfilled this condition, if you have left the desires, if the ego is dissipated, only then you would be allowed by the mystic serpent on this, to cross over this threshold. So what he did was,
Actually,
yes, yes,
mother also once told, no, those money, power, and sexual thing is guarded by the serpents. Actually,
okay, okay.
yeah, that it is
Mm,
there. I will tell you correctly, but it is there actually.
mm.
Those serpents didn't allow her to. I mean, because only that money, power, and sexual thing is dominating the world. No, it's an
Ah,
external.
okay, beautiful. Where did you read that?
I think in one of All India magazine. I don't know.
Acha, acha.
Yeah, I
So
will
let us
find out.
try to
I will
find this
find out
out.
and
Yeah,
yeah, send. Yes.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Otherwise, in conversations of mother, I think I would send. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. So he was not allowed immediately into these worlds. He just peered through. So the lines that we read, and peered into gleaming, endless corridors. So he stood upon this threshold, watched by the mystic serpent, and peered into gleaming endless corridors, full of light and shine. These corridors which were leading to God knows what. Silent and listening in the silent heart. This is what Ashupati is at the moment. He's absolutely calm and silent. And he's listening to his silent heart, listening in the silent heart for the coming of the new and the unknown. He's now opening himself up to whatever is being revealed one by one to Ashupati in this stage of his yoga. Yeah. Yes.
He gazed across the empty stillness and heard the footsteps of undreamed idea in the far avenue of the beyond. He heard the secret voice, the word that knows, and saw the secret face that is our own.
Yeah. Look at this. He gazed across the empty stillnesses and heard the footsteps of the undreamed idea with a capital I. This is what we were referring to earlier, that he saw the worlds where everything that the mind uh, dreamed is becoming seen and true. And now, what he kind of got aware of when he gazed across these empty stillnesses and heard the footsteps of the undreamed idea, one which is beyond even our mental conception of our ideas, of our, one which is one which one cannot even imagine. Those newer possibilities, those newer realizations, those newer manifestations, that is what he became aware of in the far avenues of the beyond with capital B. This just gives us a picture of vastness, like unlimited vastness, unlimited stillness, and also of newer possibilities. The world we are aware of is just a speck of a dust when we see this vastness of the creation. And yet, when we are entangled in our own drama, it appears so big and real. And if grace shines in that moment and one can remind oneself of the littleness of our kind of, the in the whole reality, the whole manifestation, the whole creation, this is absolutely nothing. One can just trace one's steps back into the stillness and get unentangled once again. And here in this happening, whatever he was going through, or the revelations that are being revealed to him, he heard the secret voice with a capital V. He heard the secret voice, the word with a capital W, that knows. I think in our mystic masters have also said uh, that at first there was this word, and it's better that it remains a mystery, because it's not of the mind that we can talk about it. It's more that we can, when we read these lines, we something gets known in the inner being, something we get aware of in the hidden recesses of our being. He heard the secret voice, the word that knows, full of knowledge and wisdom and clarity and knowing, and saw the secret face that is our own. Look at this, the secret face that is our own. The paradox. It's our own face, and yet it is secret because it is lying as if under veils of ignorance, and yet so obvious. And Kabir, on this, I got reminded of this doha from Kabir, where he says, Hirde mahi arsi और मुख देखा नहीं जाए, मुख तो तभी देखिए जब दिल की दुविधा जाए. So Kabir says that the true mirror in which you can see your face is present in your own heart, in the depths of your heart. But how would you see your own face when you are so troubled, when your heart is so troubled, when the mirror is not clear? How would you see your own face? So, what has to be done? We have to actually tap more and more into the stillness of the being so that the mirror gets hazed off, clear off, the haze gets off the mirror, the haze that is on our mirror of the heart, the inner heart, not the physical heart, but the inner heart. When that mirror gets clarified, the vital, the emotional ups and downs kind of quieten down, the mental thoughts and ups and downs kind of quieten down, the mirror gets clear. In there one can get a true reflection of who we truly are. So the secret face that is our own, just like we use this very popular example of the moon and its reflection in the water. When the surface of the water is rippled, the reflection cannot be seen. It's a hazy reflection. But when the ripples are quietened down, then only the true face of the moon can be seen. And all this while, it is not that the moon wasn't present. The moon is forever shining. But when the ripples quieten down, only then I get to know who I truly am. And that's why, again, the importance of quietening more and more our own being, stilling our own being, quieting all the impulses and the thoughts going up and down, the stories coming here and there again and again, all this vicious loop of thoughts and feelings. The more it quietens down, and again, this is all a progress that we go through. No stage is worse or better, we just kind of go on and on and on. uh, but we experience this in our being, that when the ripples are quietened, I'm just very easy, relaxed in my own presence. There is nothing that I'm seeking in that space. Yeah. So here there was this reference of uh, realizations. Sri Aurobindo talks of three realizations. So just like we are reading the Yoga of Ashupati, we will also, so Savitri, almost half of the book is Yoga of Ashupati only, right? Half of the book. And then we come to Savitri's Yoga. And there is a little kind of a difference between both. And these are these three realizations. I will also, if you're interested, I can share. Maybe some of you have gone through that. Sri Aurobindo talks of three realizations of the soul, for the soul. First one is the psychic realization, revelation of our psychic being or the soul. Second is the realization of cosmic self, which is one in all. And the third is the realization of the supreme divine, from which the individual and the cosmic has originated. So these are the three realizations, uh, which are, if one can say, our birthright. These realizations are our birthright. This is the progression that we take. And I read that the realization of the soul, or the psychic being, and the spiritual realization, where there is more descent of peace, light, stillness, knowledge, and clarity in the being. These are both parallel realizations. Like, it's not that the psychic will be complete without the spiritual realization. Both complete each other. So psychic will be going on parallelly, and the spiritual will benefit or kind of give it a push to the psychic realization also. So both are extremely connected. And Sri Aurobindo was sharing at one place that some people start with the psychic realization first, others start with spiritual realization first. For example, there is a descent of peace, clarity, bliss, and knowledge from above. And for some, it happens both together. So the psychic is also going on, and the spiritual, the more and more peace, light, and clarity is also coming into the being. And when we talk about psychic realization, इसमें ये है कि it's like opening myself to my inner being, my inner stillnesses, and then also aligning my outer actions to that inner truth that I have become aware of. This is the psychicization. So I have gotten in touch with the deeper truth, inner truth, and now I am wanting more and more life to be aligned with that inner truth. This is the psychic taking charge of the outer nature. So yeah, that was it. I thought I'll just touch upon that. And in Savitri's case, she's told that in order to help humanity, she has to find the soul in matter, right? So when Satyavan is dead and she's really suffering a lot, so there is an inner voice that comes to Savitri which says, go and find your soul. And she doesn't have to kind of go anywhere, but she just has to plunge into the depth of her being and get in touch with that space which we refer to as the soul. So she kind of pierces layers and layers of consciousness, of the physical consciousness, and gets very near to the soul. And then she also has this experience of the dark night of the soul, which we will come to later, when we read about Savitri's yoga. Where many mystics and masters have also commented on this. Even Christian mystics and masters have talked about that when you are approaching the soul or the God, there you have to be stripped apart of all your possessions, your mind, your knowledge, your thought, your limiting patterns. All you have to be bare, naked, and alone, all by yourself, when you approach God's door or the soul. And that's why it is referred to as the cloud of unknowing or the dark night of the soul, because one is completely alone, unarmed in that space, which kind of, they say that it appears before you touch the light. Before you touch the true light, there is extreme darkness in which the mind would not work. Yeah. So that is what would we will see what happens with Savitri, when she gets in touch with the soul. So that it's psychic. She gets in touch with the psychic within. Yes. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to touch upon these because I found this really very relevant also for us and interesting. Yeah. So it's really amazing that who we know, who we are, and what is totally as if veiled from our usual knowledge. We don't even know who we are. So more and more, it's as if we become humble. That yes, I don't know about myself. How can I know about the other person when I don't even know myself fully? So a kind of a groundedness also emerges in the being. Yeah.
And also, one of
Yeah.
Alokda's talk I heard actually, Ashwapati's yoga, Sri Aurobindo's experiences, it is actually very, very fast movement, It is,
Yes.
yeah. In Savitri's yoga, we can see the step-by-step process actually.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it is there. That is the difference also actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like us, for us, she is doing it seems for the human
Exactly.
being. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, one thing I forgot to mention, and obviously, I think I mentioned many a times earlier also
Mm.
that uh, we read about these things, for example, these three realizations for the sake of knowing it. But
Yeah.
One cannot say that, yes, I will do the psychic realization and I will do the spiritual realization. It's only the mother, as you said, Chitra
Yeah,
ji.
yeah,
It's the mother who does it for us.
yeah.
We just have to keep on offering and giving ourselves to the mother continuously.
Yeah, it is there in I think in Nirvana and that canto it is there on Savitri's yoga. If you open yourself to Mother more and more,
Yeah,
she is atoning for ourselves. She is doing
exactly.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And here in these texts that I shared with you, the three realizations, Sri Aurobindo also shares that the
Mm.
mother, as and when one becomes capable, the mother, kind of bestows upon that being whatever realization that person is ready for. So I cannot be in a hurry that, oh my God, I have to now, I haven't even touched the psychic, what will happen to the spiritual realization? So we cannot be in a haste or a worry in that sense. Our only task is to be on the path. And as we have discussed many, many times, that it is pure joy just to be on the path and with the mother. That is just enough. All these realizations are just kind of
Yeah.
side
Right.
effects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Reading Savitri itself is a sort of yoga.
totally.
It is. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And mother says that even if you don't understand Savitri, just
Yeah.
read it. Yeah,
Yeah. Correct.
yes.
Yeah, I have to read. No? Okay.
Yeah,
The inner planes uncovered their crystal doors. Strange powers and influences touched his life. A vision came of higher realms than ours, a consciousness of brighter fields and skies, of beings less circumscribed than brief lived men, and subtler bodies than these passing frames, objects too fine for our material grasp, acts vibrant with a superhuman light, and movements pushed by a superconscient force, and joys that never flowed through mortal limbs, and lovelier scenes than earth's and happier lives.
yeah. So this is a glimpse of the planes that Ashwapati visits. The inner planes uncovered their crystal doors. So now those planes which were forever existing, but Ashupati wasn't aware of those planes. Owing to his tapasya, he got aware of these inner planes, and they opened their crystal doors to his vision, to his sight, to his knowing. The inner planes uncovered their beautiful crystal, transparent, lucent, shining doors. Strange powers and influences touched his life. Powers one cannot even dream of or imagine of what would they make us do. Those powers and influences touched Ashupati's life. And this is, if you read the legend says Ashupati, the tapasya of Ashupati is 18 years of severe penance and tapasya. So it's not like a piece of a cake that one gets in a day. Or maybe, yes, I don't know. I'm just kind of reflecting over it, that to have goddess Savitri as which is who was the daughter of sun itself, the creative Shakti, as her daughter, he offered 18 years of severe tapasya. And that is what the record that we are reading, and again referring to Sri Aurobindo's own tapasya, obviously here. A vision came of higher realms than ours, something more than earthly realm or what we are aware of. A consciousness of brighter fields and skies, luminous fields and skies, of beings less circumscribed than brief lived men. So, comparing their lives with the life that we have on earth. On earth, we have really limited capacity of life. Now the scientists more and more working on, gene and genetics, they may be able to increase the human life a little more, but again it is just trapped in time, severely trapped in time. But here he found these beings who were less enclosed, less circumscribed means enclosed, than brief lived men. So as if their lives are much wider and vaster than the lives that we live on earth as human beings, and subtler bodies than these passing frames. So he's comparing it with the earth's mortal existence. And these beings have subtler bodies. The matter is not as thick and in oblivion as we have in our physical bodies, which absolutely masks the inner presence of subtler bodies than these passing earthly frames that we have, the mortal body that we have. Objects too fine for our material grasp. Even the things and objects that he saw there in those planes, those objects are not cannot be touched by our earthly hands. If if one were to go there and try to touch those objects with our mortal hands, they will not come in our hands. For example, if I want to touch air or hold air, I cannot hold air in my hands. The matter that I have in form of hands, it does not have the capacity to hold air, because it is grosser, it is not a subtle matter that we have. So there the objects that he saw, they were too fine for our material grasp or our understanding even. Acts vibrant with a superhuman light, even their actions were full of the light of superhumanity. The actions, the day-to-day actions of those beings, and movements pushed by a super conscient force. So there is not this distortion of the ego that we have on this mortal plane. So for example, I get a luminous idea in my head, right? When I am in stillness, the moment that idea wants to express itself out through my instruments of the mental, the vital, and the speech, something or the other will get distorted. I will not be able to express that luminosity in its fullness. So here he saw those movements and the acts, vibrant acts, all as if they were able to shine through that superhuman light or the superconscient force which was giving rise uh, to those actions or movements. And joys that never flowed through mortal limbs. As human beings, we crave for joy. And when a little bit of joy is what we feel, we are almost unable to take it in our body. Our body does not have the strength. We become too excited. We are not able to be calm in joy. If we look at our celebrations, they are just full of, yes, there is delight, there is joy that one wants to express, but one cannot contain it within the being, because our bodies are not strong enough. So the moment a little bit of joy comes, I want to just dance it out or express it out, or do something with it. The being is not able to contain it. So here the joys that never flowed through mortal limbs. Why? Because the mortal limb is not prepared enough to have those joys. And owing to the immortal, deathless form that these beings have, the subtler forms, these joys were able to manifest in their forms. And lovelier scenes than earth's and happier lives. Obviously, when we can, I think this is something which we can also understand, that if even for a moment our ego is not acting itself out, the scene in our own life becomes a lovelier scene. The life that I am living becomes a happier life, even for a moment. So, in absence of that separate entity called ego, that absolute sense of separation, also owing to the physical consciousness that we have, the matter's dominance over us. There, in that realm, the scenes were lovelier and happier than what we have on earth at the moment. This is what he was able to kind of, see through this inner sight. So let us maybe take these last few lines. I think till here is okay.
A consciousness of beauty and of bliss, a knowledge which became what it perceived, replaced the separated sense and heart, and drew all nature into its embrace.
Yes. So in this realm or the plane or the consciousness that he touched, a consciousness of beauty and of bliss, a knowledge which became what it perceived. So this is the again reference to the planes that he became aware of. And here, usually, on earthly realm, how we understand things is that the mind focuses attention on something which is separate from the mind, and it tries to understand that thing, right? So we have this subject object relationship when we are trying to understand anything. So I want to understand, say, a ball or a phone or say an eagle or a tree. And what I will do is I will go as a separate entity closer to that object of attention, and I would try to understand it. This is how the functioning of the mind is. But here, a knowledge which became what it perceived. So imagine that I want to now know an eagle or a hawk that is flying in the sky. How would I know a hawk? Not by observing it, but by becoming a hawk. And Sri Aurobindo shares, when he shares of who is a kavi, a seer poet, and the Savitri as he has written, whatever lines that we read in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo has written it by identifying with what he wants to know. That is the consciousness that is there in these planes. So if I want to know a person, I'm completely identified with that person. There is no demarcation that this is me and that is the other person, and I want to understand that the demarcation is not there. So I am one in identity with that person, and that is how I know that yes, this is the truth. A knowledge which became what it perceived. So a knowledge by true identification, a pure perception, a direct knowing. The mind is not there in the picture anymore. Replaced the separated sense and heart. So the separated sense and heart is what we as human beings on earth live by. We live as a separate sense that I am a separate person, I have a separate heart, you are a separate person, you have separate heart and sensations. Being a separate sense of self, this is how we live life, right? That's why we lack uh, most of the times in our lives that oneness that is also our true nature with our other beings. We do not feel that oneness with each other that often. So that sense of separation, that sense of being a separate entity or separate self, was replaced in this realm by a pure consciousness of beauty and of bliss, and a knowledge which became available to him by pure and direct knowing, and drew all nature into its embrace. And this is how uh, one just feels this oneness with each and every aspect of creation on this earth. I think if we read the account of Alipur jail, Sri Aurobindo's Alipur jail accounts, he also talks of this when he was gifted with Krishna consciousness in Alipur jail, and he shares that the Dwarpal or the guards roaming around, I see Krishna in them. The trees, I see Krishna in them. There is no difference that I feel between this and that. So I think that would be just going towards the third realization that we were talking of, uh, if I'm not wrong. Realization of supreme divine in each and every aspect of creation. So here, owing to this wideness of consciousness, the vastness of consciousness, it drew all nature into its embrace. There was this oneness that was felt, not owing to a mental concept or idea in the mind that I say that yes, we are all one and we must love each other, not like that, but by knowing that yes, there is this oneness that exists. And it's good not to fake this oneness. I think this is very important for us who are learning on this path, that uh, we must not fake this oneness, because this does not come by faking that or believing that yes, we are all one. One just knows that yes, one day one wakes up to the fact that yes, I know that we are all one. There is no explanation I want to give it to anybody or to myself. So pure knowing, pure direct knowing. Yeah. So if you have anything, please share. I think from my side, I'm done for today. Yeah. So rest of the stuff we'll take next. Okay then.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Purna.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Beautiful
Bye bye.
lines. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Bye bye.